Ever heard of the smallest piece of land in New York City that refused to surrender? Meet the Hess Triangle, a rebellious little plot with a big story. Back in the early 1900s, New York City was expanding 7th Avenue and building subways. Hundreds of buildings were demolished, including one owned by a man named David Hess. The city took his property through eminent domain, or so they thought. When the dust settled, surveyors realized they'd missed a tiny triangle, just 25 inches wide. Hess was furious and refused to give it up. So in 1922, he left a permanent message in the sidewalk: property of the Hess estate which has never been dedicated for public purposes. Basically, the most polite "keep off my property" sign ever. Today, that little triangle still exists outside Village Cigars in Greenwich Village, a reminder that sometimes you don't need a castle to make a stand.